I, 40 female, got pregnant young and gave birth to my son 25 years ago. My family was very conservative and strict. I was disowned and kicked out of the house when they found out. My boyfriend then turned tail and ran hours after seeing the first ultrasound. This sounds really sad and awful to say, but I felt incredibly lonely and depressed after losing everyone in my life. I've never told anyone that the reason I gave birth to and raised my son was that I wanted to have at least one person in the world who would love me and let me love him unconditionally. I couch surfed for a while and dropped out of high school to get a job. I ended up getting 3 jobs just to keep my head above water. I would feel so guilty because I just couldn't afford to give my son the life he deserved. I could never throw parties, get nice gifts, or even buy new clothes. I couldn't even spend much time with him. I brought him to daycare every single day so I could work. Of course, I had no time for friends or fun. Girls around my age would point and whisper at my son and me. I also know that some strangers would constantly side-eye me and roll their eyes. Should have kept her legs closed, Yeah, thanks, I know. My life was constant work, and I only saw my baby for a second. I lost my sense of self. My entire being was simply boiled down to struggling mom. I love my son more than anything, but the poverty, the depression, and the never-ending struggle, as well as my lost sense of identity. I spared no details and told Jade that I think she'd be better off terminating. She can have another baby, one that she's prepared for in the future and can provide a good life to. She just nodded in a daze. A week later, my daughter told me Jade made her choice. It's a sad but personally wise decision to me, at least. Later on, I was getting drinks with my friend group and explaining everything and how sad it all was. One of them, Abby, seemed a bit miffed. I asked her what was wrong and she said I didn't share the whole story, which coerced Jade's decision. This puzzled me and I asked for an explanation. Jade and I have had very different circumstances with our pregnancies. I was incredibly poor and had no one, so my struggle was very tough. Jade, on the other hand, has nice parents who would be willing to babysit for her. They're also rich, so they would buy most of the baby things. Her baby daddy is also sticking around and seems supportive. Abby said she understood why I had such a tough time, but Jade would experience everything differently because of her good fortune. She could have her baby and get lots of support. The fact that I painted a dark picture without considering the various circumstances was irresponsible. She says I practically coerced Jade. Now I'm just not sure what to even think. Am I the idiot? A frightened girl confided in you about a pregnancy and you later gossiped about it with friends over drinks? Sorry, what? You are the idiot for talking with friends, especially friends who could potentially judge or say something to the kid. What the heck is the matter with you? Why were you discussing this poor girl's situation which she confided to you, and only you, with anyone else? That to me makes you a huge idiot irrespective of the advice you gave. Yeah, gossiping about a girl the other women knew makes it even worse. Opie hated when people talked about her and judged her when she was the knocked-up teen of the story, but now she's doing the same thing to her daughter's friend. Opie became exactly what she despised like 2 or 3 decades ago. Opie is repulsive and a hypocrite. She never should have opened her big mouth about Jade's situation to anyone, ever. When, not if, Opie's daughter finds out that Opie was running her mouth, she won't trust Opie again with her life news issues either. Shame on you, Opie. There are way too many people exclaiming congratulations and too few pointing out the realities of young motherhood. You're not the idiot. I think you were honest. Your friend assumes her family would support her and her boyfriend would stick around, but no one knows that. You were asked for your input and you gave it. Regardless of their financial status, I don't think any young girl is ready for motherhood. I, male 44, have a daughter named Jamie, teen, with my ex-wife Miranda, 43. Miranda and I have been divorced for the past 6 years and she's had primary custody since then. Still, I have generous visitation rights and custody on weekends and 1 week a month, so I get Jamie about 40% of the time. Jamie and I, despite the divorce, have a great relationship, but things haven't been as easy for the last few months after my girlfriend Brooke, 36, moved in with me. Brooke and Jamie don't always get along, which I expected, but because Brooke doesn't try to overstep her bounds, I didn't pay it much mind until the last few weeks when Jamie began to go out of her way to disrespect Brooke. Last weekend I came home from a meeting to see Jamie and Brooke arguing. Apparently Brooke asked Jamie to do the dishes and Jamie responded with something along the lines of, "You're not my mom, I don't have to listen to you," which sparked an argument. After Brooke left to run an errand, I asked what was going on before Jamie gave me her version, saying that Brooke overstepped her bounds. I countered that while I agreed with her, she was still a family member, and then told Jamie that while she's under my roof, she'll be expected to treat Brooke with respect. Jamie was moody for the rest of the weekend, which I understand. However, I don't think I'm asking for anything unfair here. You are the idiot. Firstly, if your child isn't getting along with your SO, you better pay it mind. That's your kid who spends 40% of her time in that house. Brooke isn't a member of the family. That's something that comes with years of bonds. A girlfriend isn't the same, especially if she just moved in. Technically, Jamie isn't wrong. Brooke isn't her mother and shouldn't be acting as such. If Brooke wants Jamie to do the dishes and Jamie says no, that's an issue Brooke needs to take to you as the father to handle. How is asking someone to do the dishes overstepping boundaries? She's a teenager and dishes won't kill her. Jamie is staying there regularly and should help with the dishes. I thought it was normal to be asked to help out, and it was only dishes. It wasn't like the girlfriend tried to impose anything on Jamie. Jamie is just being a typical teenager and you've asked her to be more respectful. Sounds about right. Agree, OP's not the idiot. Jamie doesn't have to be BFF with Brooke, but she needs to treat her civilly. If Brooke asks her to do a reasonable chore, such as washing the dishes, Jamie should do so without the "you're not my mom, I don't have to listen to you." If she has an issue with it, she can state the issue and then you can resolve it if necessary. Is your ex remarried or seeing someone? Would she allow Jamie to treat or speak to them disrespectfully? Come on, people, we've all been teenagers. She lives with her dad and his girlfriend for almost half her time. She should contribute to housework. The girlfriend asked Jamie to do the damn dishes. Her answer was disrespectful and uncalled for. She's just testing her boundaries. I'm glad you, OP, had your girlfriend's back. My brother has 6 kids. 4 of them are from his first marriage to Jane. Jane passed away when their kids were all under the age of 7. Within months of Jane's passing, my brother married Dawn. There was no affair. My brother threw himself into finding another wife and mom for the kids right after Jane's funeral, and Dawn was the second person he met who he considered. With the first, things went sour after 2 dates. Dawn was in a difficult place when she met my brother. She was out of a marriage after struggling to have kids and was facing the fact she would never be a mother. My brother, having 4 young children who lost their mother, was an ideal thing for her, and she said as much to me back in the day. Later, they had 2 children together, so the relationship my 4 older nieces and nephews have with Dawn is very different. The oldest 2 are not fond of her and do not look at her as their mother, but the middle 2 children do. All they know is Dawn is their mom and they adore her. They do not understand their older siblings prioritizing Jane's memory over Dawn. It's been argued over many times. Dawn is also legally the mom of the middle 2 now because she adopted them. The oldest 2 are now older, both in college, while the middle and younger ones are still at home. The middle 2 kids have been on their older siblings' cases a lot about treating Dawn like their mom because she's here and has been their mom longer than Jane was. The older 2 told them they didn't care about Dawn. The middle 2 kids told them they'd be left out more over time if they kept it up, and to remember how often they excluded themselves from stuff and how left out they must have felt. The older 2 told them they never felt left out in a negative way. They never wanted to be included in Mother's Day portraits with Dawn or to be part of her family traditions. Last week, I had the middle kids. They told me they wanted to do something special for Dawn for Christmas and wanted the older 2 involved, but they said no and it turned into a fight between them, with the middle kids texting the older ones regularly, saying Dawn deserves better and why are they so upset at the idea of having 2 moms and loving both Jane and Dawn. I asked them what their siblings normally say, and they told them their siblings claim not to care, but it's impossible. This is where the parental talk came in, and I explained that their older siblings have different experiences than them, and to believe them when they say they don't mind if they're left out. I said I understood they love Dawn and feel like defending her, but the older 2 probably feel the same about Jane. The kids took it badly and said Dawn deserves better, and the older 2 always upset her when they act like she's not their mom too. When they told my brother and Dawn, both said I stepped over the line from uncle to parent, and it wasn't my place to have such a parental talk with the kids. Am I the idiot? This isn't really a parenting talk, it's a reality check. If they can't understand and change how they're reacting to the older 2, why expect the older 2 to change? Not the idiot. The best thing that family can do is back the heck up. I agree, that wasn't parental at all, and rushing into a second marriage the way your brother did was bound to be confusing to kids that young, who hadn't had a chance to process the loss of their mom. To ask them just to get over it and accept the new status quo shows a massive lack of empathy from their father and stepmother. The rush to find another wife and mom for the kids created many problems. Add to that, you've met a woman who found it a good thing for her that these 4 children had lost their mom, and you have a recipe for disaster. Jesus, the whole thing feels kind of sterile, like the two of them negotiated a contract rather than a marriage. Yes, I know a marriage is a contract, but this one feels highly impersonal. No wonder the kids have issues. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 2 years. Recently, my beloved Honda Accord died after 320,000 miles, and I had to immediately get another car as public transport isn't an option. My boyfriend began showing me BMWs, and we saw a 2017 BMW 3 Series. It was $26,000, which was wild to me as I could get a new car for that price. I ended up with a Toyota Corolla Cross for $14,000, and he called me boring for it. I don't care about cars, so I don't mind a boring car. Conversely, he keeps complaining that women spend too much on clothes. I have the same clothes as him, but he doesn't seem to realise it and thinks I have far more clothes and spend way more than him on clothes. Because each piece costs a lot more, I buy a lot less of them, but they last for 5 to 10 years. I have 6 cashmere sweaters that are over $200 each, but I buy one a year. I bought another one this year for 60% off, and he complained that I spend too much on these sweaters. I challenged him to figure out how much he spends on clothes versus me. We both went through our credit cards. He spent almost double what I did on clothes because he bought 14 pieces and I bought 3 this year. Because my stuff is really nice, they just last forever. For example, every 3 months he needs a new pair of jeans because of his rips. I've had the same pair for over a decade. Mine cost over $100 and his cost around $30. He needs winter boots yearly, which usually leak water by spring. My boots are 5 years old and still fine, but his boots are $50 and mine are $200. He got mad and said each item of my clothes is still way more expensive and I spend way too much per piece. I spent a long time trying to make the point to him that better stuff is worth the price and pointed out he spends a lot on his car. He has an Audi A4 and it's like $900 a month, while any car would do, so why is he wasting money on cars? But when I buy a sweater that lasts for years, is it a waste of money? Because even he admits, in terms of mileage, a Toyota will probably do more miles over its life than his Audi. He snapped back that he was not okay with a boring car and ignored me for 2 days. I feel like he's okay with spending way too much on a car because it's a guy thing, but since clothes are girly, it's a waste. But it made him angry when he saw I spent less on the girly things than him. Now I understand where all those boy math and girl math memes come from. Boy math is when you spend twice as much on pants than is necessary because you refuse to buy anything but the cheapest crap, but then turn around and insist you absolutely need an Audi because it looks cool. LMAO. Not the idiot. Your boyfriend is a dummy. LOL. Yeah, your boyfriend doesn't sound so smart. He's also trying to claim women in general aren't smart because they don't spend their money on exactly what he thinks they should spend their money on. Are you sure you want to be in a relationship with him? I'd like to know if he listens to Andrew Tate. Given his dogged determination to keep judging women by the old chestnut of women be shopping, I would be very unsurprised. I think part of the reason he didn't speak to her for 2 days about what should be a very small argument, or not even an argument, is that she had actual hard evidence that he's wrong, and all he has is misogynistic views that have no backup. How tiresome. Let me guess, he's into crypto and thinks it's what's going to make him rich, but he's buying at the top. So he's mildly misogynistic, sucks with money, talks down on your choices of clothes and cars, and either snaps at you or gives you the silent treatment whenever you're having a civil disagreement. What are his good qualities? Girl, he pouts for 2 damn days when he's proven wrong on an extremely minor issue. Lord Jesus help you when you disagree on having kids or buying a house. Worse, he's still your boyfriend, meaning he's still on good behaviour. When that wears off, he's going to be utterly insufferable. My nearly adult daughter is undeniably beautiful. She is the prettiest one in the family, respectfully, and she gets compliments 24/7. Many guys and friends she has always end up having a crush on her or asking her out. Although I'm glad she's comfortable with her looks, it becomes overbearing sometimes. Her dad calls her beautiful a lot, and so does her older sister, her friends, random guys in public, etc. She always says thank you, but sometimes I can tell she's getting tired of it. Her younger brother, a young grammar schooler, is a very sweet kid. He always calls her pretty as well, and it's sweet because he looks up to her. Yesterday, he kept saying it over and over again, and I could tell my daughter looked a bit annoyed. So I told him he could say it once and move on. He got a little upset at me and didn't understand. So I told him that she knew she was pretty and that we could also give people other compliments. Later that day, my daughter told me she wished people would compliment her more on her skills rather than her looks. I told her I understood and that there was nothing wrong with how she felt. I don't know if there was a better way to handle it. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. He probably still doesn't understand. He's a little kid. You may have inadvertently given him the impression that calling someone pretty, or even complimenting his sister, is a bad thing. Your son is emulating what he's heard from all those around him. Have you told the others, like the father and sister, the same thing? You should not focus on just him as the culprit. This is not his fault. Hard, not the idiot. There's no order to start correcting people's behavior, whether young or 60 years old. If you're making the girl uncomfortable by repeatedly bringing up her looks, then your behavior needs to change. The kid was constantly doing something that made your daughter uncomfortable. You told him not to. There's nothing wrong with this. You should go back and explain why we don't place such a strong focus on women's looks in little kid language. OP, give yourself a break. Your heart is in the right place by nipping this behavior in the bud.